Journey with Judy. Honest, open, transparent. It's hot. There's no such thing as perfect.
All right, so good morning. You're journeying with Judy right here on Lake 96.1, and it's been a while. I used to start this show, I think for probably 3 years, crying. Every time I would be in front of the microphone, I would just start off crying. And I feel like I've graduated a little bit from that, and I only cry throughout the show sporadically. But the reality is my heart is just so heavy this morning, just for what's even going on in our world. It's just so hard to grasp, to understand, to get our hearts around and our head around, whether it affected us directly, indirectly, just seeing and feeling what, our fellow brothers and sisters are going through. It's just like it's palatable. It gives me that thing in my throat that just swells up, and I could just drive down the road bawling for the pain that and suffering and uncertainty that some of these people are going through. And at the same time, I'm really praising God because in reference to the Las Vegas situation, my oldest son was in that exact spot just 2 weeks before at a concert. And so while I'm praising God that he wasn't there, unfortunately, a good friend of his was there, and she's on the list of one of the people who were killed. And so as you just what do you say? I mean, what is the right word? What are the right words? And this is where we as people of faith just have to believe that, if God has allowed something, it absolutely has to be for a higher and better good. And, I saw that good. I saw complete strangers putting their life in danger for each other. I saw people ministering to people in the midst of that war zone. And it just had to restore what might have been lost for that moment where you think that some individual could possibly do something like this. And so, of course, I always try to look at the glass half full and where is God at work. And I'm just trusting that he's going to work all of this out and something good will come from it. So it's kind of crazy because our topic today was about anger. And while I had made the list of 500 things I was angry about and tried to make light of this word anger, which is just one letter away from danger, obviously what happened this week caused me to shift gears as the opening story. So I'm going to lighten it up and go to break at the moment. On the other side of the break, we're going to be talking about some anger and what happens when people are pushing your buttons, and do you even have any buttons? We're going to take an anger quiz, and I hope you can pass it. Kind of simple, true and false answers. So stay with me on the other side of the break. We're going to have a fun show today, and please do praise God in the storm because he is the author and giver of all good things. And so somehow, some way, it's all going to work out. So you're journeying with Judy right here on Lake 96.1. All right, so welcome back. You're journeying with Judy right here on Lake 96.1, and we're talking about anger. I'm guessing that some person is coming to your mind right now, and maybe it's yourself. But some of us have some anger issues. I think they have anger management classes. We got some anger. And so the reality is anger is just one letter away from danger. So before we talk about anger, let's even define what it is. It's an emotional response that tells us that we are dissatisfied with something in our life. Okay. So as I prepare for the show, I try to make notes, from Sunday to Sunday about what I'm talking about and what's relevant in my life, how I can connect faith and life for my friends. And so I was realizing that I get angry about everything. So I was so angry that my daughter let her little boyfriend drive our car because it's against the driving contract. Okay. I was angry that my son did not call me to discuss his fiscal irresponsibility. I was so angry that my book, which we're going to talk about next week, did not get to the publisher in the time that I had believed, and this deadline for next Tuesday may or may not be met. I was so angry that my customer canceled something that I was supposed to, meet with them and talk about. I was so mad that my haircut could not get rescheduled. There was just anger and anger and anger. I was so angry that my man and I have been doing this project in our front lawn, and we're cutting down trees. Okay, well, you cannot give my man a chainsaw, okay? He has the guy next door came out and said, listen, can you just kind of keep that saw away from my deck? Because Bob just, he was sawing everything. And so we do this so beautifully because he saws it and I drag it. And we have a really big front lawn. And so, of course, like anybody who does outside work, I put my 10-pound weight vest on and my 5-pound ankle weights on my feet. And I make it a workout. So I drag the trees, down to, and I'm talking like, I don't even know, 100 feet of brush that's at at the curb. So this is like 4 hours worth of going up and down. And so I walk down and of course I run back up, and then I walk down and I run back up. And so my man, it makes me so angry when number one, he's too slow that I can't even get my heart rate up. It makes me so angry that my German husband, who has to have everything just so, will actually come down and rearrange the sticks. Okay. So if I didn't put them facing the right way, or they're like overhanging too much into the street, he will absolutely redo that. Okay, so I got a lot to be angry about. I was a little angry that I went to the doctor last week and my weight was spot on. 3 days later, I went back, and for who gains a pound a day? Well, I was just angry. So angry is this emotional response that tells us that we are dissatisfied with something in our life. And so the bottom line is, people, places, or things in our world, when they're not going according to our plan, because we've already decided in our plan how it's supposed to go. See, like, I just love that quote that says something about, why we can't just accept that things are what they're supposed to be. Like, what messes us up is what we thought it was supposed to be, right, Robs? Robs, come here. Get on the line and tell me, do you got any anger issues?
Oh, no, of course not.
Anybody got any anger issues?
Yes, I have anger issues.
You
of
do?
course.
You do?
Who doesn't have anger issues, Judy?
Okay, so if we're being honest, open, and transparent, we all get on our anger sometimes, right? And so, I have a son who gets he can like fire up like in one text. He can go from, being like, tell me how much he loves me, to telling me some things that are so disrespectful. I would never admit on the air that my son says that. But it's like I worry about that because it can really get the best of us, and it forces us to feel like we're out of control, right? And so there's a lot of confusion and misunderstanding about anger, okay? Yes, it is a normal human feeling. Fact, it is neither good nor bad. Fact, except in cases where it has caused us to act in a way where it causes somebody harm. So I just love this concept of anger. So here's the deal. Here's a couple quotes on anger that you're going to love. Hot words never resulted in cool judgment. He who has a sharp tongue soon cuts his own throat. Anger makes your mouth work faster than your mind. True that. Okay, so as I was navigating through my anger this week, because this was my show, and every time I talk about anything, God says, well, if you're going to talk about it, then let's see if you can be about it. So let's see how you can navigate your anger. And so as I was preparing, I came across this anger quiz. And so this is the anger self-test. Okay, so we're going to take a little minute here, and we're going to test your knowledge about anger. And you might be really surprised about the outcome, because much of what we think is fact about anger is really just a myth. Okay, so Robs, I would ask you to participate, other than have Robin shake her head yes or no for true or false. Okay, so number one, you can always tell when someone's angry by the way they express it. You can always tell when someone's angry by the way they express it. False, because it might start within, but it doesn't always find its way outside of us. Like, I know some people who are angry, but they don't necessarily act on that anger. So number one, you got a failure on that one. False, that's false. Number two, chronic hostility is the leading cause of coronary disease. True, absolutely true. Okay, number three, anger is a primary feeling that is not ever constructive. No, anger is not. It might be a primary feeling, but it is not. It's not that it can never be constructive. Anger can be a constructive thing. I do coaching right now, and one of the levels of energy is level 2, and it has to do with being in that place of anger. And what's beautiful about anger is it causes us to do something, right? It causes us to take action. And if that action is a positive thing and serves us well, then anger can absolutely be constructive. Okay, so is it possible for someone to get so angry that they lose control? People do not lose control. They choose control. Okay. Anger is an expression of control, to control others. So you don't lose control. You choose control. My friends, few actually lose it, although it feels like everyone we're thinking about right now is always losing it. And if you lose it, you lose it. Like you absolutely, when you do not choose control, you lose control. How about this? Can we all picture that person who can push our buttons? Some people, it's like you are my sandpaper person, like sandpaper people. They're either there to polish you up or wear you down to the ground. So who is that person that has a knack of pushing your buttons? My friends, you have 0 buttons. You do not have any buttons. But someone provoking you, it's impossible for someone to provoke a behavioral response. Period. You are choosing to lose control over the way that person. Robin, I cannot tell you whose name Robin is holding up for me, but we can all relate. Like, let's just think about it. Is it our man? Is it our boss? Is it our kid? Like, who's that person that literally pushes our damn buttons? And we know it, but every time we just can't show it any different. Okay, how about another one? There's no such thing as a temper. There's no such thing as a temper. We do not have one. So we cannot lose it. It is just a way of defending our unacceptable behavior. So we could say you have a bad temper. No, you have some bad behavior that needs some anger management, my friends. I love this. Okay. Expressing feelings directly has no relationship to decreasing anger outbursts. Expressing feelings directly has no relationship to, so if you express it, it has no relation to decreasing your anger. So think about it. When someone's angry, they don't get any less angry when they start freaking out. Everybody, I know that's a freak out, and you know who you are if you're listening to my show. You don't get any less angry. If anything, you get more fired up when you're just feeding into that flame of anger. True or false, Robs?
I think that's true.
You do? Okay. How about this one? People, things, or situations cannot make you mad.
No.
Okay, so is that true? Can people, places, or situations make you mad? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Okay, Robin says people, places, or situations can make you mad. Okay, this really wise doctor who did this survey says not. What we say to ourselves about it does. So the person, place, or thing isn't making you mad. It's what you are saying. It's like we tell ourselves, our mind is a very powerful thing, Robs. And we tell ourselves to react to the situation about the person, place, or thing. Then that's how we decide. So it's seldom the issue that causes it. It is always our perception, and our perception is our reality. Okay, my friends, you're journeying with Judy right here on Lake 96.1. And I have to do a big, fat, huge shout out to Cunis. And I don't even think their name is Cunis Country Auto Group. Now the official new name is Country Auto Group. And I bought a new car from a country dealership. I got a new car from one of Greg Cunis's new dealerships. And I'm so excited. It was the greatest experience ever. And I'm super happy to be driving my new car from Cunis Country Auto Group, who sponsors our show. We'll be back after the break.
In the eye of the storm, you remain in control. In the middle of the war, you guard my soul. You alone are the anchor when my sails are torn.
Okay, so welcome back. And the bottom line is, in the eye of the storm, Jesus is in control, but I'm totally not in control because I get so angry about, honestly, what seems to be the dumbest thing. And, my kids have always said to me, Mom, your freak factor is off the chart. Like, your freak factor is just not even normal. And because I have the same level of intensity about something that's really small as I do something that's really big, it just has not served me well. And so I don't get as fired up as I used to. I really do try to take a step back. But when things are not going my way, here's the anger definition. Anger is an emotional response that tells us that we are dissatisfied with something in our life, okay? It's when a person, place, or thing in our world does not go as we planned because our plan was already had decided how it was going to go. And so I'm super angry right now at my daughter's volleyball coach at college, because he said one thing and he did another. And so that makes me angry angry, right? Like I'm like a mama bear when it comes to my kids. Like I want to fight for them and advocate for them. But by the same token, I want to push them in the crucible so God can work on them, right? I was so mad when I went to the grocery store and I forgot my list. Robs, I always forget my list. And then the other thing is I always forget my glasses. And so my husband gets so angry because I get gluten-free stuff that by accident, because it says gluten-free so little. And then I get like extra hot salsa or like no fat cream cheese. Like it's all by accident, but that makes my man super, super angry. I was so angry when my printer wouldn't print. Like Robs, I have said I've dropped more F-bombs at my printer than anybody I know. Okay, so I get super angry when things don't go my way. So here's the thing about anger, guys. According to Scripture, what does Scripture say about anger? We are quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to anger. And if we're slow to anger, it gives God a chance to work in us and through us and get rid of that stuff, like that raging feeling that we have when things are just not going our way. So anger is functional, right? I mean, it's a good, positive, God-given emotion that we have, that if we navigate it positively, it can be absolutely awesome. The host of your show is not a good anger navigator, period. So anger is functional when it's expressed in a way that helps us affect or cause a positive change in the situation. So I think when we think anger, we think bad, like a negative connotation would be associated with anger. When the reality is it's only dysfunctional when it's expressed in an abusive way or even held in, right? Like when someone holds in anger, like you got to let it out, like let it up and let it out, but don't come to my house and let it up and let it go to Robin's house and let it come up and get up. Okay, so here's another question. When people express their anger aggressively, do they give away their power? Robs, do you feel like if someone expresses anger, they give their power away? Like by being a freak out? Is someone a freak out and do they give their power away? You don't think so? You think they have more power and more control when they're freaking out? They feel. That's right, because it is a perception. Okay, so you try to when we try to overuse the power that we have, what's caused us to, we're threatened, right? We are threatened by something because something isn't going our way. I mean, it is literally so self-serving and so selfish to be so angry about things that don't go our way. I mean, like when I was a kid, my mom used to always say, offer it up. Did you ever hear that? I don't know if it's a Catholic thing. Offer it up, like offer it up to Jesus. It's like, so then there's this other thing about the 10-second rule. Like, did you ever learn that when you were a kid? Is count to 10. Count to 10. Okay, there's something about us when we get angry, like this oxytocin in our brain. We get like really fired up. It's either oxytocin or cortisol. And when we're angry, it's cortisol. But if we can count to 10, the likelihood is we will be able to retract from this situation and see it more clearly. Okay, so there's so much confusion about this anger thing. So I don't know what makes it good, bad, functional, not functional, positive versus negative. So I guess it matters too frequently would be a factor, right? Or too intensely, or if it lasts too long, or if it's expressed in ways that are harmful. Okay, so I just mentioned Robin's giving me the one finger. It's not the same finger that people give me when I'm driving around Walworth County. It's a different finger. It's the 1-minute finger to tell you that there's some ways that you can appropriately deal with your anger. And I have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 amazing tips of how you can manage your anger in an appropriate way. But since Robin says I have to go now, you're going to have to stay tuned next week. And we're going to do a part 2 on anger. I think it's a great topic. And you know me, I'm just driving the points home doing these 2 and 3 part series. So stay tuned next week so we can get really angry about things that don't matter. But hopefully we get angry about the things that do matter and we make a difference in this broken world we live in, my friends. Okay, so if you're not going to get angry, at least keep it hot. Honest, open, and transparent. Peace out.